Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. Okay, now you know I always give credit where credit's due, but I really don't know for this picture where it came from, but it's a beautiful photo. Anyway, we have a lot to cover again. We have the walkabout. The Queen made it to Edinburgh. Oh my goodness. Let's just jump in and get there, shall we? There's so much to cover. Let's go. All right, we're starting out with this picture that was taken by Simon. This is Wells in Norfolk. All right, this next picture was pulled off of Twitter from the Duchess of Monta You Know What show. And she said this looks like the Queen in the clouds. I have to agree. That does look like the Queen. That's just eerie. All right, let's move on. And finally, one of my subscribers, FV, sent me this beautiful watercolor that she herself made. I think it's just lovely. All right, just a little information. Since William and Catherine are now the Prince and Princess of Wales, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are now known as Wales, if that makes sense. So where George was known as George Cambridge at school, now he'll be George Wales. Makes sense? Now with this information, of course, here comes Omid Scobie. I wouldn't put it past that Meghan told him to put up this post because he's trying to figure out why the children have not been given their HRH. Now, I think I've told you before, if I haven't, that the HRH has to be given by the king, and I firmly believe that they were told before the Oprah show that their children would not be getting the HRH, and that's why Meghan said everything that she did on the Oprah show. But that was that all was decided back in 2012 before Meghan was even on the scene. So, all right, let's move on. And I really liked this comment that was put up on Twitter. Meghan, who hates the institution and slams it at every turn, is still squabbling over titles for her kids, claiming that it's their birthright. In the meantime, she's robbed them of any kind of relationship they could have had with the Queen or Philip, and they don't know their cousins, their uncles, and their aunts. Yeah. And while we're at it, I already showed you where Meghan updated her Wikipedia page to now say that she's the daughter-in-law of King Charles III. And I already pointed out to you that she has her daughter listed before her son. But also of note, and thank you again to Duchess of Monta You Know What show, any reference to her being a humanitarian and an activist has vanished off of her page. And it no longer reads that she's married to the Duke of Sussex. Instead, at the very bottom, he's listed as her spouse. Yeah, interesting. Okay, moving on. Now, Meghan's Wikipedia page is not the only one that's being updated. Shockingly enough, you have to look at Archie and Lily's Wikipedia pages. Shocking. Now you can see at the top, she talks about his birth and where he was born and when his name was announced and that he's mixed race. But she actually put in his Wikipedia page that the family was concerned about his skin color. She took her allegation, her unproven allegation from the Oprah show, and put it on his Wikipedia page. Unbelievable. She talks about his christening with water from the River Jordan. And I mean, these are the things that are on this poor child's Wikipedia page. And on the last part of it, she puts again about how the children weren't going to become prince and princess because, you know, he's mixed race. But at the bottom it says, but Charles has been talking about slimming down the monarchy. Then you go to the daughter's Wikipedia page, and it's more of the same. This is when she was born, this is when she met the Queen, etc., etc. She put down the first time that she met her great-grandmother. Yeah, the only time. Now, this is what I want to point out to you. It's on both of their Wikipedia pages, both the daughter and the son. And I take this as somewhat of a carrot for Charles. It says, She became legally a princess with her style of HRH. However, as is the case with her brother, it is unlikely she will use the title while living in the United States. So basically what they're saying to Charles is, if you give them the titles, they won't be using them. Sorry, don't believe it. So essentially, Harry and Meghan want those titles, and from this article, it looks like they've been calling the palace. People are calling the palace, wanting updates. I mean, people don't understand. I don't get it. This is the Queen's time. This is the time to remember the Queen and to celebrate her 70 years on the throne, not worry about whether your kids are getting titles on a website. Next up, people are pointing out that they haven't seen Doria in 2 days, and she was seen leaving her house with garment bags. And so people are believing that Meghan flew her into England with the black dress. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. We all know that how Doria is with her daughter. The question is then, who's with the kids? Now, that day was a very busy day. The King and the Queen Consort met and held audiences with the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Prime Minister, members of the cabinet, and opposition party leaders. They were ridiculously busy with people coming and going all day. Now, the royal family up in Scotland went to church. Poor Sophie. We know how close she was to the Queen. The Queen saw her as a second daughter. She really did. The whole family was there to go to church. They all looked very, very upset, as is expected, obviously, with the loss of the Queen. Now, the biggest thing that I noticed was that people, again, were taking to task the fact that Andrew was there. And let me just remind you all that you may not like him, you may not agree with him, but he is the Queen's son. He's not a grandson, he's not an aunt, an uncle or a long cousin. That's her son. He has every right to go to church to pray for the soul of his mother with the rest of the family, okay? Now, when church was over, they all walked up to look at some of the tributes that were left outside of where they were all staying. Look at Zara's face there. Oh, that just breaks my heart. So here's some different video clips to show you what happened when they got back from church. Once again, Sophie was breaking my heart with these pictures. I mean, you can just see it in her face. I mean, don't misunderstand me. The whole family is upset, but Sophie had a very special bond with the Queen. I mean, we all heard about it. She used to go over and have tea with her all the time and do things with her. I mean, it was just crazy. All right, so here's some more video for you. So when the walkabout was over, they waved to everybody, they thanked everybody, and then they walked inside. So it's at this time we found out, and it's being alleged, that there was going to be a walk around with Meghan and Harry with William and Kate. Apparently the walk around was scheduled. This is what's being reported in the news. William reached out to Harry and said, there's a walk around in an hour if you want to join us. Well, of course, Meghan's not going to miss a chance at this. And Lady C reported on the news with Dan Wooten that Meghan's pulling her old tricks and she was 45 minutes late. So the whole walkabout was late. All these people standing around waiting for them, and she was late. Besides her being very late, we found out later on that Meghan's up to her old tricks. Harry and Meghan were planning to go on their own walk around. They informed some US TV stations and asked them to come along. Of course, it got leaked. William found out, and that's why William put out the olive branch and said, please come do the walk around with us. Can you believe that? They were going to try to grab attention on their own by showing up on their own unexpectedly somewhere and doing a walk around to look at the flowers. Absolutely unbelievable. They were going to try to rival Catherine and William's walk around. That doesn't surprise me. So they showed up. First of all, I was shocked, but they showed up in separate cars. Watch this. They then walked down to the gate, and I couldn't help but notice that right after they got through the gate, Harry pulled Meghan back so that they were walking behind them as they are supposed to be. Watch this. Now, at this point, it became very obvious that they were keeping Princess Catherine, as far away from Meghan as absolutely physically possible. Second of all, if you look at the bottom of the screen, the BBC didn't even mention Meghan. They didn't put her, they put her name on the bottom of the screen. So as usual, and as they do, the walk-arounds started. Now, as you can see, William had a large crowd. Everybody was reaching their hand out. Please shake my hand, shake my hand. You could just feel the love. There were shout outs for Catherine. Watch this. Now, at some point, the couples came together again, and it was very obvious from watching that Catherine was trying to keep her distance from Meghan. She was walking away. She made sure she was on the opposite side of William. And at one point, Meghan realized she was right next to William, and she turned around, grabbed Harry, moved him to the other side. She's not stupid. She was keeping her distance. Smart girl. Here it is from another angle. Watch this. Now I want you to listen to the crowds for Catherine and William. Watch this. But the crowds just weren't doing that for Harry and Meghan. I mean, really, they weren't. Now listen to the difference for Harry and Meghan, and I'm not kidding. You literally can hear the birds chirping. Listen to this. And watch Meghan. She's trying to go up to people. She's trying to get, people to shake her hand, and it's not working. Watch this. You know what really gets me about all of this? First of all, her father is still very much alive and has had a stroke, and she has yet to reach out to her own father. But yet she has no problem doing a walkabout, accepting condolences from people for a family that she's been trashing at every turn. Now, she accepts the condolences, Harry accepts the condolences, and then as they're walking away, this person made either a vomit sound or a burping sound or whatever. Obviously, nobody's buying their act. Watch this.
Thank you. It was worth it.
Worth it.
Well, this is not raining, right?
Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss.
Now, something else happened, and I'm going to take you through it because there's two things here going on, okay? Here we go. So the first thing is she's walking down, and you can just tell these people, this woman's putting on her glasses, Meghan reaches out to touch him. Nobody wants to touch her. Nobody wants to hug her. Nobody wants to speak to her. And this lady in the blue here on the left, she's just not having it. She's just like, yeah, no, we stood in the wrong place, okay? But something else happened right before that, and thank you to Eyes on Wales Family on Twitter. If you pay attention, that woman spit right in front of Harry right before Meghan Markle showed up, and she ignored her. Watch this. And even in the middle of this, she's still giving Harry the love bombing look when there's a camera around. I mean, now, one girl in the audience asked for a hug, and Meghan hugged her. And they interviewed the girl later and asked her why she did that. And she said she felt sorry for her because she knew how much hate she was getting while she was there. But look what I found in the picture. Look at her fingers. Look at the way they're clenched like claws. She was obviously very uncomfortable and was not enjoying this quote-unquote authentic moment. But she did it anyway. I mean, the cameras were watching. Now, there are two instances that have now popped up where Meghan was caught on camera where I can see why people thought that she was a bully. Here's the first instance. Watch this. She says, I already told him I would take it down there. Thank you, appreciate it. She turns around, leaves the guy standing there. That's his job. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, whatever. And here is the second incident. Watch her face. Her mask slips. And you just watch her face. Here we go. These people know their jobs. They know their jobs very well. And yet she can't just let them do their jobs. She's literally directing them around, telling them what to do. Those flowers were not for her. They were for the Queen. And she was supposed to hand them over so that they could be laid with the other flowers. But she didn't want to do that. She wanted to hang on to them. Amazing. Now, as we know, they were planning their own walkabout without William and Catherine initially. This doesn't surprise me. And a big thank you to Monarchy Forever for the photo. There's a square on her bottom left hip. And then here's a closer look at it. I guess it could be alleged that they're recording content for Netflix. Who would be surprised by that they're recording the walk around and what people are saying? And that, my friends, is why they wouldn't let Harry on the plane with them when they flew in the first place, because these two could be recording them at any time. Ay. And thank you to Naomi Skye for this photo. Yep. Anyway, it came time to leave, and you could see William and Catherine. They were very, confident and waving, and Meghan didn't. She looked like she didn't know what to do. Watch this. So let me just say that the walkabout for Catherine and William was an absolute success. Not so much for Harry and Meghan. Now, this was put up online. This young lady was actually there and spoke to William and Catherine. They said that they were gracious, warm, and friendly. And she confirmed the couple arrived in separate cars, worked different sides of the crowd, and left together. And they said that a lot of people wanted to boo, but out of respect for the Queen, they decided not to. And they said Catherine was gorgeous and Meghan's coloring was orange. Well, yeah, that would make sense because the spray tan is starting to wear off. Okay, really quickly, remember I've shown you before Harry's face with the scratches. Thank you to Meghan's mole for catching this. Meghan Markle's missing a nail. Now, I know people say that she chews her nails, but the other nails don't look that bad. Just pointing it out. All right, moving on. And it looks like Meghan Markle is not going to go home, although she's been gone from her children now for a very long time. If she stays until the funeral, she'll have been gone from them for over half a month. That's a really long time to be away from children that are that young. Of course, if Charles gives them the second row again, if second row Harry and Meghan are sitting on the opposite side of the church away from the senior royals, she may decide not to stay and be subjected to that again, and she may end up somewhere else. I already showed you guys some news articles where she's claiming that she wants a bigger role in the funeral. But maybe we won't have to worry about her being separated for that long, because now they're saying that they might fly the kids in for the funeral. Well, that makes sense. They wouldn't bring the kids while the woman was alive so she could have a relationship with them, but now that she's dead, they'll fly him over. Yeah, figures. Really quickly, you know that these blind items come out and they're usually spot on, but I do not agree with this one and I don't believe it. According to this blind item, Meghan is telling friends to leak that she's pregnant. Yeah, sorry. No. Now, the Queen left Balmoral Castle and began the journey to Edinburgh, where she will be for the next few days. That's my understanding. Anyway, here's some video. This is what you call respectful silence. It's amazing. Watch this. People throwing flowers, people crying, people with their heads bowed. It's just so touching what I see, really. So touching. I'm going to tear up again. Poor Anne is in the car behind the hearse, following it all the way. And, oh, gosh, killing me. Anyway, she's behind the hearse. So the hearse finally arrived, and as it passed in front, you'll see Edward and Andrew bow their heads, and Sophie, I think she curtsied. Watch this. They removed her casket from the hearse. They started walking her in. Andrew nodded and bowed his head, and the daughter, Anne, curtsied. Watch this.
The Princess Royal, Princess Anne. Prince Andrew and Prince Edward.
That was an impressive, deep curtsy. I don't know that I could have gone that far down. Yeah. I am so glad that Sophie was there to assist Anne. I think Anne is really taking this, obviously she was lucky enough to have her mom for such a length of time, but still, it's not easy. You all should know that before she left the castle, the Balmoral gamekeepers were watching over her coffin. And I would like to think that this is sort of what's going on now that she's at I believe it's called Holyrood. I hope that's pretty much what's going on now. Okay, you guys, I'm going to have to stop right here. I just can't go any further with this. There's so much information. Now, I'm going to remind you guys again that I work a day behind, okay? I'm trying to keep up, but it really is difficult, but I'm really trying hard. So don't forget to leave your comments, and I'm going to switch this up a little today and tell you that for those of you who've donated to my coffee fund and who've hit the thanks button, thank you so much. I did buy Finn some chew toys and some treats to keep him busy. Because believe it or not, we're still mid-move. Half stuff into storage, half to our temporary housing unit. I guess that's a nice way of saying an apartment. Yeah, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to double check. Make sure you're still subscribed if you've already hit that button, okay? Thank y'all so much for everything. Oh, and don't forget you can follow me on Twitter, Getter, Rumble, and you can email me. And as always, you guys, have a great day.